My name is Tatiana, and I'm a heart math mentor, and recently identifying as a spiritual embodiment coach.
Amazing.
And I have a practice called Lightful Heart, and I guide people to remember the power of their heart through some scientifically proven heart math methods and just a lifetime of my lifetime of knowledge and expertise that I'm now called to share with others.
Beautiful. Well, I have known you for a couple of years now. Um, and I feel like when we first met, I was really blown away by your approach to life. I just felt like you had this lightness to you and an easefulness to you. And I think it was actually our first time meeting in real life that we went and had some cake together. And it just felt really, yeah, it was like very just like loving and centering and beautiful. And I've been following your journeys. You travel so easily and, connect and commune with nature. There was another time that I think is funny to mention that we were walking through, I believe was it the Arboretum? And it was spring or summer and things were in bloom and fruits were on the trees and you were like, "Here's a fruit, I'm gonna eat it." And I was like, "Oh my God, we can't do that." And you were like, "Why not? Let's just enjoy life.
Oh, it
Let's
was
eat
a
this
pomegranate.
fruit."
I remember.
Yeah. And I was like so nervous to get
Yeah.
but it was like the most amazing, it was just like a very freeing moment. And my heart felt lighter. So it feels very aligned that you're doing this work. So I'm really excited to have you and excited to dive in and learn more. And I will also say to my audience that I have a little bit of a head cold. So if you see me blowing my nose or like rubbing my nose, that's why. But anyways, let's get into it.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to ask?
Man. Well, I feel like maybe let's start with what is this practice? So, why and why the heart? What led you to the heart?
Well, you just said something that, when we were hanging out, your heart felt lighter. And Lightful Heart is the name, but it's more of an essence of what I feel our life has or got to be. It
Hmm.
can be that. It can be fun and it can be easy. And Lightful Heart also um, means a heart full of light, as we are all light in form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, it's that feeling of lightfulness in our heart that I believe that we all get to experience in this life by the conditioning, by our life experiences. Sometimes our heart are weighted down by that life. And I myself have experienced a lot of heartbreak and a lot of grief and a lot of traumatic experiences that eventually led me to on this path of self healing and self discovery and self transformation.
Mm.
So, in all of my personal journeys, heart always was at the center of it all. It's only through my heart and through my connection with it, through opening my heart in various ways, I was able to finally heal and love all of me, all parts of
Mhm.
it, especially the ones that needed the most of my love. I've experienced what led me to. Should I go into this?
Yeah. I mean, I want to just reflect back that I think it's so beautiful to like think about and center around the heart. And I think a lot of times we we sort of like not discredit the heart, but we kind of like think about the system as a whole. And I think we've talked about this separately, but the heart is really kind of like the center at all of all of it. It's the center of the chakras, and it's kind of this place where everything sort of channels, from the head and from the root into this place physically in the body that is, it's our emotions, it's our light, it's our being, it's everything. And so, it just makes a lot of sense what you're saying in terms of uh what I'm hearing is like a lot of reclaiming. And I think a lot of times people can kind of fall off of that because of losing that that belief in the beauty of the world, as we get older. It's sort of like you lose that luster and that shine of possibility and hope and beauty. And it's almost like we have to come back to that. We have to, reclaim that part of us, that lightness. So,
Yeah, totally. I mean, there is a lot happening in the world around us. We all experienced something in our life before, a way of programming, that our systems. It's um, who we believed we are, to
mm,
operate from our mind, to think logically, to live from our head, not from our heart, to be ego driven, let's put it that way.
mhm,
And I think ego isn't a bad thing when ego is mature.
right,
And as society, we are right now at the point where we need to learn new ways for ourselves, for
right,
the future generations, and for me personally. And what I see in a lot of people I guide and in a lot of my community is it begins here in our heart. All of it begins right here. We are not able to, we can live our life from the mind all the time,
right,
but it is that, like you said, it's a bridge between two, our mind and our body, our human experience and our spirituality. um, it's combining and bridging and bringing all of those things together. And same from, healing past traumas and wounds and grief, anxiety, sadness, whatever it is. It all begins from feeling it in our heart.
right.
Feel it to heal it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. I've been doing a lot of work with my therapist on needs, and what's interesting about it for me is, and I think this happens to many people, is like you kind of feel like there's like you don't deserve to like have a feeling or to experience something. I have the practice of constantly saying, well, I'm experiencing this, but it's nothing compared to X, Y, and Z. And I diminish my being by doing that, and I diminish like my needs. And so one of the exercises that we do is this need exercise. And every single morning I sit with my notebook and I just write down, what do I need? And it's incredible when my mind gets out of the way, what comes through in my needs. And, I've talked about this a couple of times, so some people might remember this, but sometimes it's something as simple as I want a chocolate chip cookie and I need a chocolate chip cookie today. At other times it's I really would love to just nestle up with blankets and, watch an old movie. And other times it's something much deeper and much more emotional. But the thing is when I'm tapping into that, it's tapping into those feelings and it's
Mhm.
not using my brain. It's not about what's logically making sense because, of course, there's other things working, making money, surviving in the world, in our society, and those things aren't really connected to our feelings in the same way, and so it's amazing. I've been loving doing that exercise, and I feel like it resonates a lot with this type of work and tapping into the heart.
Yeah, what you just said, you were connecting to the feelings. What I like to do myself in the morning, and what I highly recommend to all of my clients do in the morning, even before you open your eyes, like feel your body. And
Mm,
how do I want to feel today? Not just how I want to experience that feeling, but how do I want to feel? What is it that I need right now? What does my heart need? Does
mm,
it need nurturing? Does it need fun and joyful and, playfulness? What is it that I need? And then how can I give that to myself right now? Through what
mhm,
experiences? So is it like that chocolate chip cookie, to treat the child in me? Or is it, maybe just like you said, cuddling up and feeling that nurturance of, a partner by my side, or whatever it is that, where you feel that from? How am I going to show up in my day, throughout my day, connected to that feeling and reminding myself, you know?
mhm,
I think, like you said, we have goals, we operate from that go get perspective in life.
Right.
And I actually just had a conversation with my friend yesterday where I was eating sunflower seeds. Such a simple example, but I was eating sunflower seeds, and she said, "What are they for?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "What are they good for?" I said, "For a lot of things, but I am eating them for just enjoyment because I love eating sunflower seeds."
Right.
She's like, "Oh, wow." And it hit her that in her life, oh, she is very in tune. She's very awake and very spiritual. But in her life previously, she was always driven by a goal, by an outcome, by a benefit, not just doing something for the sake of doing something. So for us, it's a little foreign to be like, oh, I'm going to tune in with myself and feel how I want to feel and create more of that, and
Right.
not just do it because, that's good for my nervous system or good for my health.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think you've tapped into kind of the core of all of this is like I feel like as a society, we've like moved into such purpose, such efficiency. It's like what is this going to benefit me? What is this going to provide for me? And we forget about like just the human nature of existing on the planet and the beauty of the sky or like the beauty right now that there's snow and I could get angry about it, but there's snow falling outside and I'm like, you know what? This is beautiful. It's beautiful to see this. I feel like I'm in a snow globe. It's, peaceful. It's contemplative and I feel like we don't really like look at life like that anymore. It's very much about the utility of everything that we experience, even down to our food, which is wild. And I mean, we could probably go down a whole other rabbit hole about, how Americans treat food versus the rest of the world. And I think actually we did talk about that when we first met, because we both, you were born and raised in a different country, and I, have first generation in America. And so like my family as well was from different parts of the world. But food is treated differently. It's not about, what is it going to serve me? What vitamins and minerals does it have in it? What's it going to prevent? It was more about the experience of eating food. And, I think that is so important for us to get back to. And it really does stem back to how we feel, what we want to experience, what joy we want to feel. How can we provide and create and generate more joy in our lives. And I really deeply believe that if we all did that, the world would be a better place if we all lived from a place of joy.
Million percent, million percent. We, yes, transformation and healing in life, they can all be, well, they are all very deep things. And there is a level of depth that is required. And there is a level of, doing the shadow work and going inwards. Yes, totally. But at the same time, we can make it fun.
Hmm.
We can make it nurturing and we can make it joyful.
Right.
Um, Doing things just for the sake of enjoying them is a foreign concept to us, but that is like, there is mm, a scale of emotions and feelings, and their vibrations. So the highest vibration is actually enthusiasm. When we are
Mm,
excited about something, that is the highest vibration. When we get to be excited about living and experiencing that snowfall outside of your window, with a childlike wonder and awe, like you get to enjoy it. You get
right.
to be a part of it. There is a whole world outside of us. And yes, that's a duality of life. There is things that are happening that are heartbreaking and heart wrenching. But at the same time, there are things that are happening that are so beautiful.
I love that. And yeah, it's, what we choose, how we choose to live our experience. And it's not because I think a lot of times people deduce that to like a spiritual bypassing or that type of thing. And it's not that. It's just being really awake to like choosing an experience in the moment that serves your higher purpose. And And yeah, that's like it's really powerful stuff for sure.
Yeah, but what you said about spiritual bypassing or choosing, I see it. There is a level of spiritual bypassing in our society and in our community, and especially amongst people who are on this path of
Mm,
healing, of transformation. But it's also about our choice, um, and about creating the space within us to be able to hold the duality of wars and devastation in this world right now, and at the same time being able to have that kind, compassionate, loving heart for you to experience it all, not make it black or white,
right,
but both.
right.
So it brings me back to the heart and the practice that I preach, and that heart math is based on, is cultivating the qualities of our heart:
Mhm,
love, kindness, compassion. It's not just a great feeling to experience those qualities, but
mhm,
it actually is scientifically proven to show great benefit to our body, to our health, to our well being.
right.
And then this is for me the bridging of two now, spirituality and science coming together. What we've known, we've talked about this with you, but what we've known for throughout our civilization, the power of our heart is now actually scientifically proven that our heart has 40,000 neurons around it, which makes it a brain. There is a thing called a heart brain.
Mm,
It's intrinsic cardiac system, of our heart, but that has holds memories. That's where the intuition comes from, or not only our memories, but memories of our generation's DNA, but also what's in the field around us.
right.
That's that intuition. We can tap into that. That's the power of our heart. And it's not something we got to learn. It's something that our intelligence knows.
And feels.
We just need to remember it.
Right.
Heart being a communication center, constantly, processing this information, biological, hormonal, electromagnetic information, and then sending the signal to our brain. So when we actually create those feelings of compassion and love and kindness in our heart, our heart gets in the balance with our brain. That's what's
Mhm,
called heart coherence. And yes, it has immense benefit to our body, and it is good for us, but it is also creates this openness and this capacity for us to feel it all with a loving kindness
mhm,
ourselves first, like to give that love to ourselves, to the world, to our world.
right. Yeah, it changes so much of and I practice kundalini and there's a lot around the auric field that we all carry and that we have 10 bodies and each one of those bodies is a different layer almost like an onion. um and your auric field can sort of be kind of built out in a way, and I feel like this speaks to that a lot where the more that you're giving yourself that self-love and reconnecting those neural pathways and living with a sense of wonder and with joy, that then emanates out to the world. And in Kundalini, there's always a discussion around, when you do certain practices that strengthen the aura or create more radiance, that people can pick up on that energy. Um,
It's
and it's
actually
intrinsically,
scientifically proven now.
yeah,
Our heart
wow,
creates an electromagnetic field that can be measured to up to 5 feet around us. And
wow,
that's only the equipment that they're using is able to measure it. It could be going further, it's just our technology isn't able to measure it yet.
huh,
But like in our brain, how they have these devices that measure our brainwave, that's like 30 inches around our head. That's
yeah,
our brain produces the electromagnetic field, 30 inches. Heart, 5 feet.
that's wild.
And
And you can
you,
feel it. You can
and
feel
yes,
it.
we pick up emotions of others,
Yes.
and
And
we
so
transmute and radiate our emotions. So yes.
right, exactly. And so it's just it's fascinating to me to think about it on like a global scale, you know, if everyone is working on themselves and creating this cohesion within themselves, how that can then emanate out is just amazing to me. Like it just makes me
Yeah.
really excited.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, this is really powerful stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
HeartMath does a lot of research, and they have a global project called Global Coherence, where
mm,
they measure coherence of um, the planet and what people are creating. So let's say if there is an event happening, like a global or a meditation in some city or some sort of I don't know, an event that is raising that consciousness,
mm,
raising that vibration, they measure that, and they part of their work is focused on researching this more, how we can cultivate this global coherence through our own practice. Obviously that's like how we can do it on a personal level,
right.
but how can we do that as a collective?
Yes. Yeah, I've done some group meditations, but I would be so curious to do something. I've seen global, where everyone kind of taps in at the same time, and I feel like that would be the coolest the coolest thing to do, and to work with, and it's so amazing that they're measuring this, you know, and getting real data on it because, you know, some people are really driven by the numbers. So
I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some
right.
people are driven by the numbers, but now the numbers and the data and the scientific research makes those people be included in this rising consciousness of
Okay.
humanity.
Yep. Yep.
You know, one of my teachers is Dr. Joe, and I know you're reading his book,
Yes.
but the way he delivers this message of transformation is through science, and it makes it inclusive for everybody.
Mhm.
It makes all sorts of people from different backgrounds, religions, nationalities be united by one concept that we are, you know, the source of this creation is within us, and we can and we are able to produce the change in ourselves and the world, in our
Mhm.
world.
Totally. Yeah. I'm curious to hear a little bit about how, and I know we started to get into it, but like, how did you get into this work? What drew you to this? Was there like a point or a moment where you knew that this was what you wanted to work in and guide others in?
It's a long story. Where do I begin? This is who I've been my whole life. Only recently I have crossed that threshold of me showing up more as that which I am. And that required a lot of my personal self healing for me to be so ready to show up and express my truth and my understanding of this life with those around me and to guide others. When I look at my life from like zoomed out perspective, all of it brings me to this path right now.
Mm,
Things that didn't make sense before and were just, you know, hobbies or interests or whatever, I didn't take it as seriously, all bring me here. You know, my degree in psychology that I gave up because who wants to go to school for 10 years and and get a PhD in psychology and be a therapist? Like, nah, I don't want to do that. You know, my experience, like my childhood, I started remembering these things from my childhood that I do now, that I
mm.
did then, and now I do them with a greater understanding of what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But
What
like
was
my
what was
connection
some of the
with
things?
nature,
Okay.
my connection, because a lot of my practice is through nature-based ways.
Mm,
And so my connection with nature now, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense that I did that as a kid. That I would go and bring little flowers and put them under trees and give my like gifts to Mother Earth.
mm.
You know, that back then there was play. Now I do it consciously, intentionally.
Right.
Or like how I would, bring my hands to a lot of work that I do is with quantum healing, and that's all through energy. And so now I'm remembering putting my hands on like my dad's back
Mm,
when it was hurting to heal him. Now I do that consciously. um, Things like that. All of my life led me to this point, and I know that the path in front of me is still unfolding. But I've reached the point where last summer I had a business plan in hand, ready to open my cafe because
mhm.
my previous venture was a raw cakes.
Delicious cakes.
Yes, raw fully delish. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I had a business plan in my hand and an investor who wanted to invest the money. And I was in a meditation retreat, and I went there with this business plan with an intention to manifest it all. And there I had a great awakening
Mm,
that that was not my path, at least not in that form. And the whole summer after that was very transformational for me through a lot of ego death and death and rebirth portal of like, who is this new version of me?
mm,
But in all of it, one thing was clear is that what I was considering, like, I've always said, cakes is not who I am, it's what I do. But it became clear that who I am and what I do needs to align.
right.
It also became clear that I'm a manifesting generator for six, and that's
Mhm,
a lot of community. That's a lot of that leader role. And from my numerology, there is a lot of numbers that are teachers and mentors and guides. So it all totally makes sense. But it also became to me that I have this well of knowledge and expertise through different modalities that I've done for my own healing, that I got certified in for no reason than me thinking, yeah, right? That I have, we all do that. We
right.
all have that unique perspective on life that we need to share with others. And we can do so through our work or through who we are being in our life. But for me, it became clear that I need to speak and share with others what I
Mhm,
know. This is not the time for hoarding knowledge. This is the time for sharing it.
right.
If I've walked the path, I want to guide others. Because for me, one thing that was extremely mm, vital and transformational in my own journey was having those people, mentors, guides that showed me the way, that held my hand when I didn't know what to do and where to go.
Mhm,
And I know that there are people that I'm meant to serve. And so, how can I keep hiding myself behind this 3D? Yes, it's just levels of our awareness. And as more we unfold into who we really are, things around us change. So, my path totally turned into guiding.
right.
But who am I to be hiding from the world? You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot of expectations around our brand and who we are and how we present ourselves. And I would say I'm definitely going through a similar experience of, sort of like shedding the layers of what I always created as an expectation of who I should be in the world and how people perceive me versus how I perceive myself. And I think that this hearing your story is a lesson for so many others to really follow the inner calls and inner pings. And I know we were talking about this last week when we got on the phone about like just like what's happening right now, that we're kind of like reclaiming and also discovering why we're attracted to certain things, why we're doing certain things in the world. And yeah, I think that one of the things that really stood out to me about what you just said is like you don't know why you got those certifications, but somehow they're all starting to come together. And I think that's the experience for a lot of people where, you're drawn to, for me it's like crafting. I'm really drawn to crafting and I love creating things. And I don't know why I like to do that right now, but I'm just doing it, like I'm making beaded things and I'm knitting. Um and I think that it speaks actually back to the heart as well because we're talking about, you know, obeying and listening to the feelings that we have and listening to those inner calls and, answering to the joy rather than the logic. And you just don't know what is around the corner for you when you do that and when you really kind of sit in that inner place from your heart. So it's beautiful to see you here for
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. It's a beautiful place to be, honestly. Talking about embodiment, I know it's such a used up word right now that is losing its true essence and true meaning, like gratitude. I think that's one of those that gratitude is the gold of our life,
Yep.
but it is so used now that people are making it seem like a cliche, which it's not. Embodiment is another one of those. Embodiment is feeling it in your body. And now I feel in my body very differently than I did 6 months ago.
Yep.
When you surrender to your path and trust in your intuition, your knowing, maybe asking your guides or that invisible support group that we all have, or just trust in God, whatever it is you believe. And when you are moving, things unfold in front of you.
Yep.
It takes us back to that conversation. We like, why did I eat the seeds? Or just for the fun of it? Why are you crafting right now? For the fun of it. But there
Right.
is something in it that you are embodying when you are doing it. You're experiencing something through working with your hands that creates a feeling and knowing in your body that might be preparing you for something.
Right.
Why did I want to get certified in all of those um, modalities? For me, it was for my personal gain at the time, but I was drawn to it and I followed my knowing. And when we do that, more and more and more unfolds for us. Yes, we can create our life with and we should, well, not should, I don't like the word should, but yeah, we can create our life from that place of what it is that we want to have
Mhm.
already and go towards it. But in all of it, it's that feeling again, it's the emotion. What is drawing you in? What you seek is seeking you. That's
Yep.
exactly what it is. It's a
Well, and I
magnetic
think
feeling that
yes.
you are drawing it into yourself.
Totally, and I think, like, that's a huge part of it for me, and I think probably a lot of people will resonate with that, is the magnetism of it. It's not really about calling it to you or doing a lot of work, and I've definitely been a victim of that for the past, I don't even know how many years, and I really do say it as a victim because it's like I let myself kind of fall into that trap of
You do.
yeah, of being like, I have to find it. I have to work hard. I have to grind and, sit in front of my computer and figure it all out. And, a lot of people that read this newsletter know that, my journey in the past half year to year was abandoning a traditional job that I knew from before I even took the job wasn't for me. I'm not a person who works in a 9 to 5. That's just not it's not in my DNA. But I did it and then I left and I also was like, I have to get out of the city. I have to leave. And I didn't know why I was being called to that. It was a call from inside of me that was happening for years. And I finally had the opportunity to do it and to follow those calls. And I just felt like I was reconnecting with my wild woman. And, and now I feel like I'm still in that place of really kind of navigating through and understanding what is it that I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I would actually reframe that to say it's not supposed to, but like what is the call? Like, and I think it's about now I'm noticing, and it's interesting with this conversation series that I'm doing, the people that I'm being drawn to speak to are all sort of these people that are working with different parts of the energy and reclaiming and, stepping into our wild power and stepping into the divine feminine. And I think that's really the work, if you're going to call it work, but the journey is in really getting still and listening to your heart and putting your ear to the ground, like putting your ear to the earth, looking around you at what's happening physically and not really trying to direct the energy, but work with the energy and flow with it. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually had this woman, Saga, who's a coach in her own right, for flow and form. And she talks about how we can kind of guide those two energies to work with us. It's this constant dance between the two. So this really speaks to that too. And it's really, really amazing to think about it in a way that's a little bit less work and a little bit more listening and a little bit more getting still and being with your heart.
Yes, and also from that place of hearing your heart, you can take an aligned action
Yes.
that is in congruence with who you are.
Right. Once you've gotten still to listen.
Yes, exactly. Like that opens up such potential for us to live our life from this place of knowing, this clarity, this ability to know what it is that we want, how it is that we want to feel, what it is that we need to do to feel that way and to create more of it in our life.
Right.
Not from a place of, oh, I have to figure it out. I'm going to sit in front of a computer, search all these jobs. That's okay too. But when we connect with our heart fully, we are able to create from a different place.
Yeah.
We are more prone to discern between what's ours, or we are more able to discern between what's ours and what's that societal pressure,
Yes.
you know,
Totally.
social media, all of it. There is constantly somebody telling you what you got to do,
Hmm.
even in this healing space. And even us right now having this conversation. But at the same time, you and only you with your heart can know
Yep.
if that's for you or not.
I think that that's really why I wanted to have this conversation with you is not to tell, like, we're not telling anyone what they need to do, but it's more so about getting curious and tapping in and listening and, getting still with yourself because yeah, like no one is going to tell you. No one has the answer. You have the answer. And that's definitely been a big learning for me in the past couple of months, years, so on, but especially right now, I'm feeling more and more it's like part of my whole thing and like this is very vulnerable for me, but like I feel like I'm constantly looking for the external validation for the people to tell me, what pair of glasses I should get, like what color should I wear, what should I be doing next with my brand. And although that data can be interesting, and helpful, it shouldn't be the only thing that dictates what and how you live your life. And, you know, like that's why, at least for me, I've been really taking time in the mornings to sit with my needs, to sit with my feelings, to really kind of tap into what it is that Maya needs. Like, what is my inner child? What does my heart need today? And from that place, deciding what I'm going to do with my day and how I'm going to go about and what I'm going to create that day. So, that's what I hope to leave people with in this conversation. And I'd also like to ask you, and then I'd love to do maybe like a short guided practice where people can turn to that. Maybe we'll see. I might cut them up and do like one that's shorter for everyone. Um, but I'm curious to ask you if someone is new to this and they want to work more with their feelings, work more with their heart, what are some easy things that they can do? How can they tap into this? And what would you suggest? Where to begin?
Yeah. I think that where I like to begin with my clients and the place that is awareness, becoming aware, first of all, of yourself, of your energy, of your heart. And that's by sitting in the morning with yourself. I highly recommend everybody to do a meditation practice. as some form of your devotion to yourself. First thing in the morning, fill in your own cup before you go and serve others, be that your family, your work, or whatever. And then becoming aware of your energy, of the things and places, and throughout your day, how are you feeling
Mm.
from this observer perspective? Noticing that, oh, this is where I get triggered, or this is where I feel drained, or this is what, makes me sad. First, bringing awareness to those places and then inquiring, why is that?
Mm.
Becoming aware of your thoughts and your beliefs from that observer perspective. It's like, who is thinking this? Is this truly mine, or is it somebody else's?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then, of course, connecting with your heart. And how we do it in heart math is by intentional heart focused breathing. And I invite people to, will practice with you now, but for everybody to experience it. But I invite people to maybe create their own habit if
Mm.
this doesn't resonate with them. Whatever it is that brings you in a place of oneness with your heart, where you intentionally giving it your attention. Where your attention goes, energy flows. Often throughout our day, we are so unaware of our energy, but bringing your attention to your heart throughout your day and doing this simple, it's literally intentional breathing through your heart, but doing this when those things happen, like when you notice, oh, this is triggering to me, oh, this is bothers me, or oh, this makes me really sad. Doing this in those moments to shift your energy and to create that coherence in your heart. And
Mm.
then also doing it in the morning, in the evening before you go to bed, to set yourself, your body, for this feeling of balance and harmony. So let's practice, because
I love that.
I
Yeah,
can
and
know
I
what it is, what I'm talking about.
no, and yeah, before we jump into, I think like what's really interesting about that too is the somatic connection as well. And how much we hold tension in the body. So I think the physical part of this is so important to really feel where your energy is in that moment. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's
And that's the embodiment,
right.
what when we are so connected to our heart, we realize that there is no separation, there is no fear, that our heart only knows love.
Hmm.
And from that place of connectedness with your heart, you can choose how you respond to your life and to those things that happen in your life and around you. You get to choose to hold it with love or give in to fear and create more of that.
Hmm.
So we'll practice heart focused breathing and something that's called heart lock in. And heart focused breathing brings, it's a shorter one, and then I'll lead us into heart lock in, but it creates that coherence I spoke about. Coherence creates the rhythmical balance and stability in our heartbeat that then regulates all other systems in our body and communicates with our brain. And so coherence is created in the heart, but it is when all of our systems are in sync for, and when they are in sync, they are at the highest efficiency. Highest efficiency for us translates into our bodies working better.
Right.
And when our bodies are working better, we can live our life as our best self because we have the capacity for it.